Well done.
Thank you.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. We started this trial about a month ago, a little over at this point. I was standing right here when I said, if you hear from me again, we're penalty phase. Not surprised that we're here. We're getting here. Didn't make it here, but we are. This is going to be a difficult process for you. I told you that at the beginning. Here we are. Each of you will have to make your own moral judgment about this. Mr. Kurtz told you last week you collectively made a very important decision in this case. That guilt verdict guarantees Brandon will never, ever walk the streets again. We respect that decision. Going to die in prison? Talk about that. The only question really, is he going to die God's time or because of this case? Tragic situation. You will never hear anything bad from me. Everybody loses in this case. Swanson, Anderson families have lost great men. Willie Martin, who you're going to meet, and his mother, lost husband, lost her brother, possibly even her son. Whatever decision you make in this case, unfortunately, cannot bring back any of those great men. One thing you need to be careful of in this case as you go through the evidence, and this is a quote, to take a life when a life has been lost is revenge, not justice. Not justice, weighing these factors. The only way that you can do it is to learn more about Brandon, what happened with him, the story. It's about when we started, all of you promised that you would go all the way with us in this case. Remember that. The district attorney has called Mr. Martin cold-blooded killer. Just a second ago, he called him evil. The original closing, he called him a desperate man with nothing to lose, and he wasn't going to be stopped. That's what they think of him. That's what they want you to believe. On top of that, they want you to believe he's a spoiled athlete and abusing drugs, killed 3 individuals in cold blood. There's something missing. You're probably questioning yourself now, wondering why. They have not given you a why. You're going to learn in this penalty phase, Brandon had no motive to kill anybody. But there are thousands of baseball players that get drafted, play in college, maybe play in high school, that never make it. They don't go out and kill and murder people. There are also thousands of drug users, drug addicts, who don't go out and kill. There's something more. What you're going to learn is that at a very early age, when these murders happened, Brandon was only 22. Around 19 or 20, you're going to learn that he developed paranoid schizophrenia. You're going to hear about that. Again, as we spoke about, you need to go all the way with us in this case. You need to get to the bottom of it. Somebody raised their hand, said, yes, I want to find out why. I want to find out the whole story before I make a decision. Difficult as that may be, that's what's going to happen. Let me give that to you. Let's talk about Brandon, his life story. The Martin family, you have Michael, then the top left as we're looking at it, obviously. Below him, that's his wife, Melody. His arms, that's Brandon. Boy, to the right, that's Sean. Sean and Brandon are 2 years apart. Michael and Melody, great parents, loving parents. As any good parent does, they dedicated themselves to their children. They got them in sports early on. They all do. They excelled. In fact, these two boys excelled more than most. They wanted to make sure they both were successful. Got them into good schools, dedicated their time to coaching baseball teams, travel ball, making sure they were there for everything. You're going to learn there's a big family, lots of uncles, lots of cousins, lots of days at grandma and grandpa's house, family trips. They did everything right to be done. My pot of gold. You hear from Melody, and she'll tell you that's exactly what it was. Pot of gold. You also have in the top right pictures with uncles, cousins. Got Sean, Brandon, and on the bottom right, one that's Michael. This is what their life was. This is how it started. Keep in mind, this is a loving family. They're dedicated to their children. That didn't just begin when they were young and end at some point. It continues all the way through this case. You're going to hear from witnesses that despite what he's done, ladies and gentlemen, he's killed 3 people. Despite what he's done, it's important to them. Talk a little bit about the Martin boys. I mentioned they both excel in sports. First, Sean, he earns a football scholarship to Oregon State, where he graduates. Plays in a few different bowl games, and he does really well. Brandon also earns a scholarship to Cal State Fullerton. Decides to, as you've learned, sign a pro contract, go play for the Rays. Sean, his brother, will tell you he wanted him to go to Oregon State so they could be together. Brothers were very close. That's the way their family made them. That's how their family was. They were all very close. Brandon decided to go a different route. Again, amazing route. This is one of the last photos of the family. This is at an Oregon State game on Christmas 2013, and you have Brandon on the left, Michael, John's in uniform, and Mom. Two proud moments for this family. This is right about the time Brandon is suffering. He starts hearing voices and losing himself. This is a great photo. This sums up their relationship. This is draft day. Proud Michael, the proud dad. A great day for them. All the time and effort that they put into giving an opportunity to his son has paid off. Both are happy. At 18, this is where the story takes a turn. 18, he's doing well. And a year and a half after that, yes, there will be drugs and other things involved that you're going to learn about, but he changes. You're going to meet Sean. Great young man. He works in the mortgage industry now after graduating from State. I'm going to talk to you about growing up, how close they were. He's going to tell you that Brandon was fine. He was just who he was, kind of quiet, reserved, loving boy. But something changed about 2013. Now Brandon is hearing voices. His brother knows this. He's wondering to himself, and he'll tell you this tomorrow, what is this? And at one point, Brandon says to him, don't you have your aunts and uncles in your head telling you what to do? How do you make them stop? This is in a car ride where John is looking at him and saying, what's wrong with you? Brandon's looking at him and saying, what's wrong with you? You don't hear this? You don't see our aunts and uncles right here? At that point, Sean knew there was a problem. He also tell you about back at the house at midnight, Brandon would go up to his room. He had one of those sliders, glass sliders that people have in their homes, and he would take the door and he would bang it 3 times at midnight. He'll also talk to you about favorite TV show is Law&Crime. He has seen every episode of Law&Crime. When these things are happening with his brother, he doesn't know what to do. Family doesn't know what to do. What you're going to learn is he would be in his room at night watching this show, intentionally having the volume so loud that nobody could hear what he was doing. Down on his hands and knees, praying for his brother. Doesn't want anyone. What he'll tell you is, the time he was doing that, he gets a knock at the door, goes over, says, bro, stop praying for me. I hear you. I was blown away by that. Because there's no way anyone knows there's a problem. I'm going to talk to you about the things that happen now. They are not pleasant. Some of them are violent. You knew this was happening. Changing. He's going from being this kid to being this guy. And look at the photos, you're going to see a difference. I want you to pay attention, guys, about what Michael Anderson testimony about that. Talk about it. I mean, just look at it. He even used hear from Sean as well. He's going to talk about the changing. We look at this picture. We're also going to hear from Emily Joanne. He and Brandon were love at first sight in elementary school. They were boyfriend and girlfriend all the way through the senior year of high school. He's going to talk to you about Brandon, how he was. All these years being together. Bottom right, there they are in elementary school. Taller and has bigger. Get Brandon's face in these pictures. Tomorrow you're going to see. Get the glow in his eye. What he has ahead of him. Great opportunities. Again, Emily's going to talk to you about that. She's very close to him, obviously, and his family. They break up the senior year because they're all going in their own directions. But Emily will tell you that she maintained contact with him. And all of a sudden, he changes. Same time frame. He becomes paranoid. He's sending her these text messages that don't really make sense. She doesn't understand what's going on. She notices, this is what I need you. You're going to hear from Jamal. This is a cousin tomorrow as well. Again, he's going to give you some more family background. Talk about the Martin family, how close they were. Boys, how close they were. What he's going to tell you is he notices. He sees Brandon talking to himself at times. He's all by himself and laughing to himself. When there's no question or statement pending, nothing. Just talking and laughing to himself. He was convinced Brandon was schizophrenic. He knew there was a problem. Everybody knew something was wrong. Nobody knew it. You're going to hear from Matt Buzzle. Matt is a former teammate of Brandon's, and that was equally as good. He also, out of high school, signs a major league contract. Is playing. He meets Brandon in high school their last year, and they go play. They're on a travel ball team. They call it the area code games, where the best players from different area codes form a team play against each other. That's where they first meet. They both have that same scholarship to Cal State Fullerton, but they decide they're going to go pro. People say when he first met Brandon, he thought, this is another me. Full of energy, confident, phenomenal athlete, had a gift. Anyone in the world denies. But what happens is you take some 18-year-old kids and you give them close to $1 million, they may make the wrong decision, and that's what happens. They start partying together. They move into this house in Yorba Linda that you're going to learn about. Mansion. It's about $7,000 a month. Begin doing drugs. All sorts of different stuff. You're about marijuana, you're learning about cocaine. They're partying. They did the same types of drugs. They partied way too much. He starts to notice Brandon has problems beyond the drugs. In fact, there's something wrong in his head. He wasn't acting like he was all there. Go away, separately, play their first season, come back. That will tell you he started to see a difference in himself. It was off, edgy. One thing that sticks out in his mind is a white car incident. But he's going to tell you that one time another friend picked up Brandon. Actually, Brandon was driving, excuse me. They're telling him how to get to where they need to go. It's just follow the white car, and Brandon starts talking about all the white cars on the street, this white car and that white car, and very paranoid. They're looking at him and saying, there aren't any white cars, it's just one. Seeing things, hearing things, they're paranoid. Last time he saw him was a couple months before this, and he was paranoid. He thought his dad was stealing money, and he didn't look for it. He lost a lot of weight. Everyone in the family, they don't know what to do. Many folks thought he had a drug problem. John believes he's got something more than that. Take him to see Dr. Balton. January 12, 2013, that's the first appointment. About a month later, February, he's diagnosed as schizophrenic, paranoid, and he's given Abilify, antipsychotic medication. He's going to come and tell you that. Look at the date. That's about, call it, 2.5 years before murders in this case. And that's important because he was suffering. I want you to keep in mind that the family, they don't know what to do. Trying to do everything right, there are some limitations. And as an adult, you make his choices. You're going to hear, you won't. We do know there was one remedy available, 5150. And he's refusing to see doctors during that time. And Sean will talk to you a bit more about that. He's going to talk about these incidents during the way and what he was trying to do to intervene family. Not that they didn't believe him, but they didn't want to believe him. That was so serious. He knew he had a drug problem. He did. It was much more than that. As you heard in the first part of the trial, there was a plan that Mom and maybe that was part of it, and Sean, where they thought, well, if we just beat him up, silly as that seems, that will get his attention. So we go to the house. This is after the scissors incident. And everybody's there, and the original plot was, let's beat him up, and then he will start going to the doctor. He'll start taking medication. He'll start doing the things that he's supposed to do. They decide that's not the right plan. Michael makes a decision. That is called police. The officer comes, gets 5150, earned his involuntary hold for up to 72 hours. So September 15, 2015 at 8:41, the officer takes him in for that 5150. He goes to the Riverside County Regional Medical Center. On the 17th at 1:30, he's released early. He's there 41 hours. 72. You're going to hear from the doctor and the social worker that release him. Be surprised to know that they were having some issues with overcrowding of beds. Be surprised to learn that not do the evaluation. Know that. What happens when he leaves? We all know that. He goes immediately home. He kills these 3 people. The back. Directly leaves from the hospital. Place that the officer felt he had enough of a mental condition. Go there. 21 hours. 72. Not that you can speculate, but they held him the whole time. I know there'd be some different outcomes in this case. John's also going to tell you that there was a time or two where he and the brother ran and got into it. He called the police. They never cared. So, along with this, got the system has let down Martin. That's something that you're calling the police and they're not coming. You finally get an officer there and they 5150 and just release him early. Because he said he's no longer a lover. Clearly. You can hear from Dr. Abrams, he's a psychiatrist. He's been a psychiatrist for over 20 years. Currently, he's a psychiatrist at the San Diego Psychiatric Hospital, staff psychiatrist at the County of San Diego Emergency Psychiatric Unit. We've seen individuals that have been 50. Unique thing beyond that is that staff psychiatrist, California prison system, where he treated hundreds of mentally ill inmates. He's going to talk to you about Brandon, symptoms, to fill that in. Brandon Martin is a life worth saving. Once you hear about his life, learn about that, you're going to come to the same conclusion. He's a sweet young man who was full of life in those pictures. Around 19 to 20, he changes. They hear voices, becomes increasingly paranoid, schizophrenic. He commits these murders at age 22. Mentally. But earlier I asked you to look at his eyes. His eyes and his eyes. On the left, get Emily. Just see the life in his face. His skin tone. Then you look on the right. Right after he was arrested, the wound on his face is right after attacked by the police dog. And I want you to look at his eyes. Michael talking about Brother Sean. It's not there. This is important because you have to weigh aggravating versus this attorney's argument to you be that people, what you tend to do, you wanted to do. This is different. Have a whole story. Say you go with us, you needed that. And you're starting to see it a little bit. Great country, ladies and gentlemen, we do not execute the mentally ill. At the end of this, you're going to evaluate everything. That will come to the life in prison. Life.
Thank you, Mr. Welber. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and take our morning recess.